Join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I was trying to like my mom for a second.
It's all good.
Item 2 is consideration for additions and deletions. We have none. Invitations to members of the audience to speak.
Back up.
My apologies.
Scratch number 2, bring it back.
Scratch that.
Well, I thought this was going to be item number 5.
CBA public hearing?
What, in my treasurer's report, you mean?
That's a
We have to have it, it's a separate, it's the budget hearing.
This was the public budget hearing?
Yeah.
Welcome to the budget hearing.
Yeah, welcome.
My apologies.
Sorry.
I didn't get
Sorry.
Okay. We can, is there any members that like to speak to items on this agenda here? Okay, then we'll stop right there. We'll call the public hearing now for the budget. Call this to order. Second is the budget presentation.
Okay. All right. So I have kind of gone over a lot of this with you guys before, but since for the public hearing portion, I'll go over the budget for the education fund. I have total expenses for 2025. That's 3. One more page. As $60,939,105. And then, which for everyone's knowledge, the education fund is funded from the state, so that is not. This has nothing to do with your property taxes or anything. It's just based on student ADM, and then I do get some other revenue from the county and stuff to support that. And then when it comes to operations, total expenditures of $8,115,730, and that is funded through tax revenue. So our net assessed value, which is where I get the tax rate then for this, is $1,040,351,202 with an advertised rate of 0.5112. And then the debt service fund is also supported through tax dollars. And that is, I have total expenditures for next year of $1,334,052, and the property tax rate for that is 0.1135. I expect both tax rates to be lower, so the total advertised value is 0.6247. I expect my estimated total is 0.4992, so we're still in line with like last year roughly. We're a little bit lower, a little bit lower, but pretty much in line though with last year. But a lot of that is because our assessed value has grown so much over the last year. That helps level out everybody's taxes a little bit. I don't know how to explain it, but it helps offset that, so it's like spread out over that base, I guess is the best way to explain it.
How much did our assessed value go up, you know?
Our assessed value went up. Okay, it went up. It was $1,223,000 or $1,223,942,591 last year. So it's an increase of 6.3%.
So it's at 1.4 billion now.
It's 1.3 billion.
Okay.
Yeah. So it went up, almost $100 million.
Yeah.
From last year. Not quite, but almost $100 million. So, yeah. So big numbers. We still have big numbers.
How many commas are in that?
Right? When you start, when you think when I first started, we were, well below $1 billion, and that's just been 2.5 years ago. And now we're up to 1.3 billion. That's quite a growth rate. So the state let me do a 4% increase on our operations budget from last year. So
How much?
a 4% increase. So they let me do 4% increase. We had growth of 6.3%. So
Right.
that makes the tax rate kind of drop a little bit, but not by much. I mean, it's not we're seeing a huge, but it does help that a little bit. So yeah, I think so. That's where we're at. I know it's a lot of numbers. I'm all good.
Anybody that messes with those kind of numbers.
Yeah,
Um,
gets unreal sometimes.
do you have anything else as far as the public hearing goes for this?
I could talk about our capital projects, maybe. All right. So I have for 2025, I have 50,000 down for a maintenance truck. We're gonna try to keep it. We have, was it 2014? What year is that?
2015.
15 that we're looking to replace. We had some carpet cleaners and scrubbers. I did put down a mower. You just never know. Technology equipment is on there. That's pretty normal and standard for every year. But the big changes are the tennis court resurfacing. That's 80,000, and the tennis court's in rough shape. We're hoping to get about 5 more years out of it, and then we'll talk later about what kind of budget that needs. We've already got some quotes on that. $1 million, just so you know now, to gut our tennis court and start over. But we're
Just to redo it all.
just to redo it all,
Not resurface.
not resurface. The resurfacing is going to cost us 80,000 though next year.
Okay.
Baseball and softball scoreboards, 20,000 each, so total of 40 to get those done. Those are badly needed. Wrestling mat, 15,000. I have budgeted about 300,000 for HVAC because we still have classrooms that need done in the buildings. And then we'll get a bus washer too then for transportation next year. And then we have our bus replacement plan that kind of goes in this. We've got 3 buses next year to do that math in my head. 300,000, $480,000 in buses then for next year. We've got some buses coming up that are going to need replaced, and so we're going to start working on that because it's going to be about that amount every year for a while. Probably in the next 5 years, I have it scheduled for about 5 years of that expenditure too. So that's a chunk every year.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Do you have anything down for the auditorium?
The auditorium, we're hoping. So Kyle's here to talk about a project that somebody's going to go towards. We're hoping maybe we'll see how much he goes, and then we're going to start. That's in the works, though. If it doesn't hit for 25, that'll definitely be on 26's plan. So, because I know that desperately needs some work as well. We're trying to piece together some stuff. We're working with Sam for lights and sound to get some of that done, but I know there's some interior work there that needs done.
Lights and sound would be great.
Lights and sound would be great. Yeah. I know overhead lights need redone in there pretty bad. It's kind of the house lights, yeah, are pretty dark in there. I know the ceilings need redone. So
It pretty much needs a full.
it needs an overhaul. So that's, I think, on the radar for
We discussed
26.
that within the next 3 years here, we're gonna get something done.
Yeah, we're trying to finish up the gym kind of area right now, get that project done so that we can then move on. It's kind of one of those like, yep, we'll keep working through all that and get there. So,
Okay.
Yep.
Is there any, does the board have any questions? Now I have to ask if the public has any questions. So much public here.
Right.
Okay. If there's no public comment, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have motion second, all in favor. Motion carries for the adjournment of the budget hearing. We can resume our regular meeting. Well, communications, we have none. Melanie, are you caught up? Are you good? Okay. We'll go to the CBA public hearing now.
So just to give a quick rundown of what changed in CBA. So we increased the base to, we have to do that based on 5 different factors that the Indiana Education Employee Relations Board gives us. So we chose 2, actually 3 of those factors. So we are looking at evaluation. So teachers that were with us last year and were effective or highly effective would see a $650 increase to their base. We base that on experience. So teachers that worked for us 120 days during the last school year would also get another $650 on their base. Then if we had anyone, which we don't yet, we would use the educational leadership factor, and that is looking at the early literacy endorsement, and those teachers would have $100 also added to their base. We currently don't have anyone who qualifies for that. They have to take the praxis and have all their coursework done and get it added to their license, and it just hasn't gone through yet. So that is what we are looking at there. So that is a $1,300 increase to the base for all those teachers who qualify in the evaluation experience. We also are going to make some degree changes for people when they earn their master's degree. They can make a move over in the lanes, but that lane is a $5,000 increase. So using the criteria that IRB gives us, we can't do that because it would be more than 50% based on education, and we can't do that. So we are asking you to do supplemental payments later in the meeting for those teachers to get that taken care of. We did increase the hiring scale, so that is what we use to place teachers as they are hired with us. So we have increased the year 0 to $42,650, and year 1 to $43,150, and then that goes through all the roles and columns and doesn't increase along there. So that would mean that any teachers that are currently with us will remain ahead of any new teachers that we hire. We kind of got ourselves a little backwards at one point in time where we were hiring teachers at a higher rate than our current teachers were, so that should not happen again. So we did make some changes in the ECA. We added the esports stipends for a head coach and 2 assistants. We put in a CPR stipend for any Lakeland employee who is certified to teach CPR. They can do after contract hours classes, a maximum of 4 classes in the district per year for our staff members so that they can maintain their CPR certification for their licensing. We also officially added the 22 PLC department heads on there. And we increased the base multiplier for our ECAs, so they didn't go up a lot because that base only went from 42.5 to 42.650. It's based on the 0 year, but they did go up by a couple of dollars each. There were some just wording that IRB did not like that we took out, so we did change that. So hopefully we'll be in compliance. We had several different language changes. Some of which had to do with making sure that the rates that we pay people are justified within the CBA. Currently, we have no idea where the rate we were paying for detentions came from. It was just some random number that had been used in the past, so we wanted to get it in the CBA so it was codified. So then there was just some other IRB language and some life insurance language that we changed. We did add a benefit for staff when it comes to sick leave. Currently, if they are over 90 days at the end of the year, we back them down to 90 and then they just lose those sick days. They were just going away. So we now have a caveat in there that as long as they keep the 90 days, anything over 90 days would be paid into a 401A account for them for retirement at the rate of a certified sub. So that is a benefit they did not have before. We did it for personal leave, but we didn't do it for their sick leave. So now we will do that for both. We also added some limitations on personal leave in that when we started looking at our professional development days and our days before vacations, for instance, today, I believe we had 9 people out at the junior senior high. We had 6, I believe, out at LIS and 4 out at LPS today as the day before a vacation. So that is a problem. Because of sub shortages and keeping our students safe, we need coverage in those rooms. So we did put in some limits. It doesn't mean that people can't still take that. We limit it to 4 people. Those 4 people will do a personal day for each day that they take. Over 4 people at the junior senior high, those people would be charged 2 personal days for each personal day they take on a vacation. So we just added some limitations in there to try and mitigate that a little bit. That is just herb language that we modified. So the total package for teachers this year is $207,000, $207,164. You know what I'm saying. Can't talk tonight, but that is the total package. And then if you factor in the $10,000 in degree changes, that goes up by $10,000. So I think that was another good package for the LEA, and we seem to agree. So we have come to a tentative agreement.
Can I go back and look at this?
Right? No. Sorry. Too late. If you want to come work, we'll give you some more.
Anything else?
Nope, that's
Okay.
okay.
I guess at this time we'll open it up for public comment. Okay. We'll move right to 3 then, and then closing statements. I'll say a little bit, I guess. I was on the negotiation team, and I just want to say thank you to Dr. Blaze and Melanie and Jamesy and anyone that worked on this. There was a lot of hours that went into putting this together. Dr. Blaze worked a lot of time on this, and I want to thank the LEA as well. They were negotiations went great. They're always great to work with, and things went really smooth, and I think it worked out for both sides. So that's all I have. Entertain a motion to adjourn the public hearing for the CBA.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. That is adjourned. We can now move to reports.
So I just have Lakeland by the numbers today so that you can see that our total as of Monday this week is 1,472 students. That is a decrease from the month before. But you can see that we are down 31 students from the end of last year, which is relatively close to what we had estimated we would be with the graduated class and the size of the kindergarten class. I think then we are ready for Kyle to present. So as you know, we've been working on the Hall of Fame project, and we're kind of in the beginning design phases. So Kyle is here to talk to us about timelines and what that is looking like.
Can I go full screen or not?
Yeah, probably somehow.
If not, it's not a big deal. There's some dates on there that people can see. That'd be awesome. Also, is it okay if I sit right here? I feel like if I'm standing here, it's gonna be more awkward.
You're fine.
That looks the same.
F11.
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 Well, that's the same.
No, just F11.
Do you have Adobe on that computer?
Probably not. I don't know.
It's
what
Adobe Reader.
Acrobat should be on there.
Oh,
Hit that little download thing in the top right by the printer.
It's already downloaded.
Oh,
yeah,
I'm
just
sorry.
this is the
You can
downloaded
open
version.
it with Adobe.
Go to your downloads folder real quick.
You didn't think you were gonna do as much pressure, did you?
No, I don't. It's like Christmas. Alright. I should look at a different one. Downloads will be right here.
Downloads. Right click on the top one
Everything was going so smooth until Kyle showed up.
Yeah.
and then open.
I just want everyone to be able to see it.
There you go.
And then now I think you can hit F11.
Well,
Oh no.
I'm gonna do an update.
No way.
continue with sign in. Continue with Google. Instead of your sign.
It's fine.
Whippers.
Get this all down in the
New
minutes.
browser for me.
Pardon me?
Get this all down in the minutes. will you?
It's videotaping, so.
Continue.
Okay, great, I'm all set.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. Close comments and F11. Okay, that is my, F11 is my
Fine.
Sound.
sound.
Function F11. Sorry, there's a bunch of key. I think he. Oh my gosh, can cancel.
What is it doing? Sam.
Functions right here.
Maybe not.
If you go to this right here,
There you go.
Yep. Hit menu.
click it,
View.
It does. It's a
touch screen too.
Is it really?
Touch
Yeah.
screen.
Full screen mode.
that's what happened like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yay.
Time's up. Sorry, Kyle.
That was too hard. I want it in Google Slides.
You can go down to the next slide. All right, so the project we're looking at, we're calling it the Hall of Fame, but it's more than just athletics. We're talking about academics, fine arts, and athletics to sort of showcase, a whole-rounded success of Lakeland. And so I'm going to walk you through the project process here. We've had some initial discussions as part of the phase 1, and we did some concepting for that. So right now we're at the beginning of the design phase, and as it kind of shows in the design phase, there's a bunch of different things that go into it that are a little bit different than a normal construction project. So the content, athletics, and then the next slide shows the things that kind of would go into from the academics and fine arts side. And these are just kind of our workshop things, but so in order to do the design for this Hall of Fame and fit where it goes in the hallway, what content are we going to display for all 3 of those things? And do we have that? For example, today Dr. Blaze brought in 3 uniforms from Lima, band uniforms from Lima, Wolcott Mills, and Brighton, another one. So artifacts, stuff like that for academics and fine arts. And again, the big goal is, we talked a lot about this today in the meeting, is to just visitors, people, our own community, people that walk in, there's a wow factor about what is Lakeland, and then they can be inspired. I was talking today, when I was a kid going to the basketball games, I'd walk around and you see even the little pictures with the all conference things. It's I wanted to be on that. So this is taking a step up from that a little bit and kind of, from the athletics, academics, and fine arts, creating that level of inspiration for kids and, parents that are potentially thinking about moving to this area. So the content, there's a lot of that. The location, where are we going to put it? We've talked about the grand hallway. You'll see kind of where we are a little bit with that today. And then what is our budget? Factors into that. If we have a $1,000 budget, the grand hallway, we're not going to get that far. So, and do you want me to download into the budget a little bit, where we kind of talk about? So initially it was, hey, we have close to 300,000 potentially earmarked for this, which was, I think, more than I was expecting a little bit. So I think we can, shoot somewhere around the 200,000 mark, and kind of cut some of that out. One of the things that we have been talking about that, as the project goes on, we'll do some pricing to kind of figure this out is, do we want to replace lighting in the hallway? Do we want to replace the ceiling? Do we want to do new coats of paint in there? I think everyone would say yes to that, but I think as the budget allows, that'll be part of the consideration for it. Just as a frame of reference, not that you have seen it, maybe you can Google it later, but I worked on the Seton Hall of Fame in 2016 or something like that, and it was right around $150,000. So I think we can probably hit really close to that number, and that's also, I think, good from a, being able to invite contractors to work on this, rather than to put it out in a public bid scenario, for a myriad of reasons, but just some of the things we've talked about. And then the last piece of the design is obviously the aesthetics. What does that mean? We've worked on the brand piece, over the past couple of years, and so we have a lot of that sort of set, or at least the toolkit to kind of work from, which is a big piece of that. It's exciting. back up one more.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry.
We've just done this little bullet. I promise I'll go faster. The next thing is like I just mentioned, like doing a prelim budget. So once we have the design in a couple options, you know, let's look at a prelim budget. What are the things we can kind of work into the project, or do we need to scale it back? The hallway's huge, so there's lots of things we can do. I think we could spend a lot more money than that if we really wanted, but I don't think we need to by any means. And then content collection. This is a big piece, and when I worked on, you know, collegiate and professional athletics, like they have teams of people that are just, you know, gathering all that and archiving stuff, and, you know, we don't necessarily have that. But today we kind of had a meeting to you know, talk about some of that, and I feel like everyone was actually further ahead than I was expecting in terms of that. So it's, you know, I know all the photos from the old gym have already been photographed and like digitally scanned so that they're able to then be, you know, manipulated and, you know, resized and all that stuff. So that's a huge piece of that. And then it's refining a format for all these things to fit in the space within that hallway. So, and then there's production. So it's actually taking all that content and putting that in a Photoshop file or in a Photoshop format, and, you know, making it something that all those pictures, if you think about what that wall used to look like, are very consistent. There's team photos, there's individual photos, there's some that are 4 feet by 4 feet, there's some that are 1 foot by 1 foot. Like, getting a format so that you can read people's names, see people's faces, is really important. And so that's sort of like the construction document side. If you're looking at building a building, like that's the construction document side of that, so that all those digital files can be then put, you know, taken to a printer and applied on the surface. So that's all part of like the design phase, and then it would go into like bidding. And I know there's different ways that you guys could go about doing this, but like the project would be bid out to, you know, a contractor that would then hire a printing company, you know, to do all that. And then if it's changing lights, changing, you know, ceiling tiles, they're doing that as well. Honestly, both of those two things could probably be split apart because they are two very different things. And so you could put out a bid for just the vendors for all the like printing and, you know, display stuff, and then you could put out a bid for the construction piece of it.
Sure.
Just some things that we'll talk about as the project kind of goes forward. And then there's the actual build and fabrication part of it. So that's the process. Here's where we kind of are with it right now. Now you can go to the next slide. This is a floor plan of the grand hallway. You can kind of see the legend up in the top left. Red is academics, the Laker blue is the athletics, and then the purple is the fine arts. And so what we've kind of done, if you are starting here as a visitor kind of walking in, or from the large parking lot out here, you come in and there's a wall right here with the number 1 by it, and it's got all 3 colors, and basically that's just kind of like a Lakeland spirit. This is who we are, history of Lakeland. And that's where, you know, we talked about, you know, Dr. Blake says the idea of sort of making it something that this is how all the schools in the area came together to be, you know, Lakeland High School. And then also have it be like a fun showcase for, you know, history artifacts and stuff like that. And you'll see some precedents that we've kind of looked at with that here in a minute. But then these display cases, and this one right here is like the bench. Those would kind of be converted into displays for each of those things. So these would be like the most prominent pieces right there by the entrance, so that from this way you can see that. People at concession stands can see that. People kind of walking in from this way can kind of see that. So that's kind of like, here's your first impression of Lakeland. The rest of this hallway, kind of past this, would be the Athletic Hall of Fame, the inducted, you know, you are inducted in the Hall of Fame, and then this big long piece here, where it says 4 and 9, that would be sort of the area where I think we can fit all of the pictures from the gym in a different format, and we'll kind of show that here in a second. And then both of these two, like 6 areas, would be just like cool brand marks of Lakeland. Whether it's like the cursive Lakeland, whether it's the L, something fun. Maybe it's dimensional and lit too. We kind of talk about that. This area right here, where the 2 is, this would be academics and fine arts. And then there would be some spillover. I think we were kind of looking today, but fine arts may be here. And then obviously this hallway, but that hallway we kind of want to not put anything in because you can't see it during a basketball game or graduation or, the big things that happen here. So that's like the way back, fallback of that. But the idea is to get all of the things out, within that grand hallway that people can see on big event days. There's also Touch Bro. The Touch Bros are something that already exists. So those would be sort of like augmenting these things, or the stuff that, hey, we only want to have around for 1 year, and then it kind of gets archived into the Touch Bros so that you can always go back and find it. It's in the public realm, but it's not necessarily something we want to take up this valuable space that's in the hallway. And it's a way that we can sort of like constrain, if we have budget issues, we can kind of constrain and combine a bunch of those things into these digital displays to kind of pare everything down. Next.
Are you sure?
No. So these were just some like very initial concepts just to kind of like talk through how this would kind of work. Hanging anchors from the rafters there in the different brand colors has gotten some excitement amongst the team. But this is kind of that area. So if you're looking at the hallway, that's that entrance I was kind of talking about. This would, again, this is just very rough, but just to illustrate, like, hey, this could be the display, who we are as, Lakeland, the history of Lakeland, that area, and then how these can kind of convert to the different display cases. Let's go to the next.
So that could be a place maybe that we put the locking owls.
Yeah, exactly. Like in anything that had happened before.
Like the past L's and
yeah, and it could be like, it could be football helmets, and it could change to cheerleading uniforms or like whatever. Like, I think it's something that could be very dynamic and change over time, but always sort of like have that spirit of like, when you kind of look at this, you see this is like fun a little bit. There's a couple of good examples from Oregon that show. So this was just kind of talking about why content is super, super important and figuring those things out. Because we need to deal with wall space a little bit, and kind of showing, this was just kind of like a test piece, but okay, this is Tommy Peachin here from the Hall of Fame, and it's a 12 by 16 on that wall that we've kind of shown. You can fit 94. So that may be a lot, that may be a little, but also like, you're limited in this 12 by 16. This is what you can show, and is that enough? So that's why figuring out the content and figuring out what we want to show for the Hall of Fame pieces and those pictures and all that sort of thing are it's really, really important. This is kind of just like, hey, this is how you get inducted in the Hall of Fame, and then there's a precedent, which I think is at the end of it. I think I put it in here, where these actually like pull out, and so they're panels. So then you can get a lot more within that, smaller area, because there's 3 versus 1 within that. But this like kind of pulls out of the wall, and you can kind of interact with it a little bit. So those are some ideas. But this was just to kind of show. So this is sort of a precedent of, what that We Are Lakers, Laker history could actually kind of be. This has just a whole bunch of stuff from, Oregon and the surrounding area, and this is what it means to come to Oregon and all that. This is like just a vinyl display. Like, this probably costs $500. Yeah. But it's just really, really cool. So, our colors aren't yellow and green, but they're red and blue, and I think they work kind of in the same way, where they're really exciting and fun. Let's it's not in this one, but this is like some just examples of like getting all of the pictures in the same format. You know, where they're printed on like a piece of laminate or metallic laminate, their names there, their sports that they played are there. And here's some other like more realistic versions of that. And this is just kind of like showing, you know, realistic, you know, big brand marks with, you know, a fun material that works with their brand. Here's some other like display cases. We talked about doing display cases where, you know, we have a little shroud that kind of goes over that block and actually makes it something that's not just like a
Pillar.
yeah, like a glass with that has like an oak frame around it, right? So like these actually have pictures inside of them, and then you know the actual trophy cases are, hey, this is what's important. These are the winter sports. We have the winter sports up right now. It's in the winter, spring sports, that sort of thing. So, and then these things can kind of interchange and be added to in a really nice way over time. So all of that's being thought of too, of like how do you expand without it being, hey, we need to rebuy this every single year. We're getting a little print vinyl thing, you know, for the 4 people that, you know, get into this one area. And so this is, again, for academics, fine arts, and athletics. So, schedule-wise, I bumped this back out, but I kind of want to take it back so we can condense it again, since I think today we were ahead of where we were. But I don't know if everyone can see this, but today, October 9th, the design process will essentially go, you know, till December 5th, 6th. That's when we'll, oops, did I do that?
Yeah.
Wasn't me. December 5th, 6th, that'll be kind of a meeting, where we'll also go through pricing. So we'll have like 2 rounds of design to get to that point. So we'll kind of know, hey, are we in the ballpark? Do we need to pare back, etc. And then I think one of the other things would be like at probably a basketball game or something like that, being able to kind of display this in the same way that we did for the floors, you know, possibly for feedback, and kind of like, you know, show before we get completely done. And then before Christmas, having like a 50% construction document of the whole project. And then bidding would be like January 24th. We'll like kind of review how we want to do that leading up to that. I think right now, at least my experience with the construction climate is like, if we're doing bidding versus like hiring a construction manager, like giving them 3 weeks to actually put together bids and look at everything and not make it something where it's, hey, we're rushed to doing it last minute and adding 20%. You know, giving three weeks, I think, is a good route to go. So I think it could actually go pretty quickly too. So I'm guessing like somewhere in this realm of February to May would be the construction timeline. Hopefully, you know, I think end of May is definitely achievable.
They're thinking 3 months, technically.
Yeah. And it honestly, like, things this size, I've seen get installed in like 2 weeks. But it's like, if we're gonna do lights and we're gonna do, you know, adjust some of those trophy cases, I think, you know, like getting the millwork done is in that. Your hallway's not gonna be, you know, construction zone for those months. It's stuff needs to be built off-site and then brought in.
You got a lot of people in this county that does build work and does that kind of stuff. So
and very very well too. Like
That'll be a time, could be a timeline though to get some of those aesthetics ordered. Like some of that stuff probably wouldn't be just like readily available.
Most of the stuff that I showed, like I think the one that we talked about is where you actually like have the pull-outs. Getting the components to that, like those actual components, I think would take, you know, 12 weeks to order.
Yeah.
But honestly, like the laminate, vinyl, all that stuff is like I mean, I've seen an experience like that getting done pretty quickly. Like the millwork piece of it, yeah, that's usually like an 8 to 12 week lead time.
I know somebody does a lot.
Oh, and, I mean, I use for all the custom homes that I work on, I use River Woodworking, and they are like 75% the cost of ones in my area in Detroit, and they do way better work. So like you guys have riches of that type of work here, so I think that helps out the budget too.
Do we have like a general contractor that you're like? I can't see us having somebody that can make it look like Oregon or Texas in our backyard.
I think
The colors and the lighting and all that. Like, do we have? I mean, do we have to bring somebody else in, or do we have somebody?
I think you have some people that can do it. I think that it's maybe some of the vendors for the laminate and that have these giant printers that can print on every surface. Like when I was doing that type of work, like there was a company in Minneapolis that we did all that work from, and they just knew the process. Yeah, and like it was, there's shipping involved, but that's something I think we're going to kind of explore and I think talk about more, where it may benefit the school, the project, to actually hire a CM to manage that, and then that CM can then go get bids from the different trades that they want to get, that may be a little more specialty that we want to actually select that, rather than have I don't know, Fast Signs or something from Fort Wayne win that bid. That's probably not beneficial.
So you'll have 3D renderings for us to look at?
There's going to be, and then documents, someone actually has to go and look. There's a design that's done with basically I'll use chef names or professional athletes or whatever, and then there's infilling all of that content. So then someone actually has to go through and these, is this name correct? Is the picture correct that goes with that name and all that? So there's so much time in that's probably half of the actual time.
Katie's not here, so we'll say Katie.
Yeah, it's just say
It's checks and balances, or there's multiple. Obviously, our team will look at it. Your team should look at it, and then the team that's printing all this should also check it through things we have. So there's some time in that, but we're ahead of where I thought we would be with that content stuff. So sorry, that was a little long-winded, but
Dr. Blaze started working on those pictures a long time ago.
yeah.
So.
Thank you.
All right. Does anybody have anything? Board? Are you done?
I am done.
Okay, treasurer's report.
All right. So we're at the end of September. We're at 75% of the year completed. We've collected $11,083,799.51 in our education fund. So we've collected 83.51% of the year. The operations fund, we collected $4,921,151.45. So we're at 76.3% collected for the year. Still waiting for that December collections. So we always like that. All right, expenditures. We have spent in our ed fund $10,079,190.12. So we have expended 75.9% of our revenue budget, 69.22% of the approved budget. Operations, we spent $5,680,503.42, 88.1% of our revenue budget, and 68.7% of our approved budget. Our operations budget took a hit this last month. We bought a bus.
I don't like the red.
Yeah, I don't like that either. We bought a bus. We had some HVAC work, and I'm trying to remember, I had I have a list on my desk. I forgot to grab it. Those are some bigger items we had. Oh, and the concessions remodel too. That's in here. Still was within our what we had kind of talked about, but still was an expense. We did pay out ECAs in the Ed Fund too. We had some of our ECA payouts. We had about $56,000 just in ECA payout then for September as well. So that also raised that up a little bit, but we're good on the Ed Fund. But yeah, expenditures are a little high in the operations fund, but they were planned expenditures for the most part, especially with that bus. It was $143,000. So buses aren't cheap. So anyway, so that is where we're at right now then for September. So
Still in pretty good shape.
yeah.
So I see we're about $355,000 less this year than we were last year.
Yeah.
In our totals there. So
yeah. Well, some of that was we do that transfer at the end of the year. So that, of course, when you compare year to year right now, we've been transferring money from our operations since the rainy day at the end of the year. So that is where that hit has taken. If you look at last year's to this year's balance.
But still not that. We're
300,000 at this time last year was it?
So so just some of those expenditures, but
I know we've been in the red for expenditures quite a bit lately. Do we expect that to slow down?
well, that's the fun part about the operations budget though, is that we only really get money twice a year in the operations budget. So we just see we're always going to end up red in the operations fund. It's never going to be like
Correct.
the month to month anyways. That's what I mean by in the red in the operations. It's always going to be in the red.
But it's much higher than it's.
Yeah, it's a little higher. Yeah.
But we've done some things that take care of some things.
We've taken care of a lot of, like I said, the HVAC work that was expensive. I mean, we ran out, used the ESSER funds, and then we had to go back and use some of that. Yeah, some one-time expenditures. Yeah, we've had some of those that aren't going to be ones, every year. So, yeah. But yeah, that bus purchase probably put us over. But we won't have that then the rest of the year, right? Like we don't really have too many. We were at the point right now where we're not really spending money. I mean, so
Is there anything else on the treasurer's report? Okay. I don't have anything to report today. We'll keep the meeting moving. We have no unfinished business, and that brings us to new business, which item number 1.
Item number 1 is I am asking for your approval of the career coaching grant. This is a grant that we've entered into with the Northeast Indiana Educational Services Center. We're the only school district in our county that has decided to do this. It pays $10,000 for a career coach for our kids, and Kara Young is fulfilling that for us. And then we'll have $5,000 in programming for our students focused on career awareness.
We got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. Item 2.
This is approval for the Tryon University grant. They surprised us and sent us a check for $500. That is from their Lilly grant for literacy. They did this last year too. I just didn't realize it was going to be multiple years. So we use that money as a supply line for Lori Lou's reading specialist position. So when she needs supplies for the classes she teaches, we have something to take that from.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries.
Anytime trying to get this money, I'll be happy I've been paying attention.
No kidding, right? 3.
Number 3, we are asking to move some funds from a donation account that was created for cafeteria balances into a supply line to order headphones for students who do not have them. Headphones are one of the only items that we ask parents to purchase as far as school supplies go, but we have several students at the primary that do not. And because we offer free breakfast and lunch at the primary schools, or at all our schools really, we don't need those donations in the cafeteria balance account.
Entertain a motion for this.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. 4.
Okay, item 4 is a mirror to last month's letter from Mr. Jones on requesting to use fundraiser money to purchase equipment and things for the school. This one is for LPS.
Entertain a motion.
So moved. Sorry.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. That brings us to 5. That's employment. Do we have anything to highlight here?
I would highlight that Lee McGuigan is going to be a substitute teacher for us. I think this gets us pretty close to employing most of the McGuigan family now here at Lakeland. Letter F, Sean Miller. She was a longtime employee of Lakeland. She worked in our cafeteria. She was a para for us. And she took a year or 2 off, I believe, and now she's coming back to sub. So we're excited to see that. Let's see. Heather Sloan is coming back to us as a special ed para for junior senior high. And we have another Lakeland grad at letter K, Morgan Sykes. She is coming to work as a food service substitute. John Wood, another Lakeland grad. He's coming in to be a special purpose driver and substitute custodian for us. And then Kara Young is on there for her stipend as the career coach.
Don't forget about letter L, Joni.
Did I miss one?
No, I'm just super excited that Joni Weimer's coming back to the cafeteria.
All right.
She makes the best buffalo chicken dip, and
Oh,
we almost lost it off of the menu, but she is back and it's
Oh,
in
thank
full force. We
goodness.
had her first time this week, and on Tuesdays you want to stop by.
Tuesdays.
I have heard my kids talk about it.
Amazing. It's good.
Very excited.
I didn't know she was the buffalo chicken dip queen, so now I know.
Jason Mayer coming back. It's not-
Probably. We're now recruiting.
Entertain a motion to approve 5.
So,
Second. And a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion does carry. 6. This is transfers.
yep, there is a slight increase in Mary Green's hours. Is that because we changed the handbook on the food service and
It was a
change?
need.
Okay, just a change for need. And then Cole Lozano is a substitute for us currently, and we are asking to transfer him into an ED paraprofessional position at junior senior high.
Entertain a motion to approve 6.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. 7.
Okay, number 7, letter A, we just did not have a resignation letter, so we needed to go through and make sure that we got that on the board agenda. Letter B is our junior high gymnastics coach is leaving us, and then we are losing a sweet paraprofessional at primary. We wish them all the best of luck in their next adventures.
You said a junior high / junior senior high.
That's a location.
Yeah.
But gymnastics, JH means junior high.
Got it.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. No discussion needed. All in favor? Motion carries. Okay. We are on 8.
We are. We have some new volunteers for cheerleading and for volleyball for you to approve.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion a second. All in favor? 8 passes. 9 is the consent agenda that we've all been waiting for. So I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, the meeting minutes, executive session minutes, special meeting minutes, and all the claims.
So, second.
Do I got a motion from Jessica? Derek motion, Rob second. All in favor? Motion carries. We'll move to public comments. Persons wishing to make the board aware of suggestions, ideas, and or comments may address the board at this time. Comments which involve personnel or students must be discussed in private. Seeing none, moving on to board member comments. quiet board tonight. Okay, we'll go into calendar review, October 23rd.
Back at it. 2 weeks.
Sorry.
Reminder that I will not be here on the
Yeah.
23rd. Derek, you gonna be here?
Yeah, I'll be here.
Okay. I hope so.
Right.
We gotta approve the budget.
Yeah,
We also
Yeah.
have to sign the.
and a CBA too that night. Yeah.
Report meeting, so.
Yep.
All right, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Adjourn. Motion and a second, all in favor, motion carries
I'm always.
with full support. Thanks for coming, everyone.
I want to make sure. I told them
Yeah.
last
Oh, I did.
Yeah, I'm just going to the airport.
Huh?
Oh, yeah.